our series of videos and audio content relating to this year's Breeders' Cup continues. This one goes out by special request. We had a handful of people saying, going to Lexington for the first time. Where should I go? What will you guys, you do your lifestyle content for Del Mar and Saratoga. Let's do something for Lexington. We appreciate that very much. So PTF back with you here. We'll now bring in a guest who I've had the pleasure of hanging out with in Lexington many times. He should know what he's talking about, given what he does professionally. And I know he's a man who knows how to have a good time. And we're going to bring him in now. He is John Cox. John, what's going on?
What's up, Pete? Thanks for having me on.
Let's start with one of yours on this. We're going to use our same countdown format. We'll go back to we'll do 5, and we'll do an honorable mention as well that we'll do before we get to the first one. But let's start off with your fifth pick, which highlights an area of the town that I, too, am a big fan of.
Yeah, so number 5, I'm going to go with visit the Distillery District. It's off Manchester Street, if you're familiar with Lexington, but just a cool old kind of renovated area of the city that is right on a creek, but it's one of the coolest bars over there is the Goodfellas Distillery, and it's literally housed in an old distillery building. You can see all the old equipment and whatnot. It just really has a cool feel to it. Some great beers, craft cocktails, solid pizza. I'm sure you've seen Portnoy's pizza reviews there in the past, and I love that place. There's some good breweries over there, Ethereal Brewing, Elkhorn Tavern's a cool spot, break room. And, there's just a lot to do, even no matter if it's warm outside and you can be outside, or if it's cold, you can get around a fire in there. So yeah, that would be number 5 for me.
My number 5 is going to tie right into the Distillery District, but I want to start off by also just doing a little tangent about music. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, our outro today is going to be very special. I've asked my man, Nick County, to stand down today, and it will be John Cox you're hearing on the outro. I want to hear a little bit about this. We knew you're a poet. You've dropped rhymes on these shows before, but the music foray is interesting.
Yeah, it's not something I've necessarily broadcast far and wide before, but I've always written. I've always been a writer. I actually am also an auctioneer. I don't know if you knew that, but I can talk fast, and I've always liked rap music. So I kind of, especially during COVID, worked on some songs and whatnot, and just fun for me. It's a different way to kind of promote Kentucky, promote the races. So. Almost poetic in its own way, but
for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. It's just another creative outlet for me, I guess.
That's awesome. Well, we'll talk more about that on a visit when we have more time. And the auctioneer stuff gives me a whole bunch of ideas right off the bat. But we'll put a pin in that. But the reason I mentioned music is I did have a great experience. I don't know if it's technically Distillery District, but it's right close to there. One night at the Borough. And since neither of us as our official lists have anything about where to go see music in Lexington, I was going to ask, is the Borough still a cool spot? Where else would you say for people who want to go check out some music?
Oh, yeah. The Borough is definitely one of the most kind of intimate settings. I mean, I think it caps off at about 250, 300 people. It's cool because I actually saw Tyler Childers there a couple of times, before he really made it. And then, you just saw him play a concert in front of, tens of thousands of people at Rupp just last week. So, definitely some up and comers have been through the Borough. Elkhorn Tavern, which I mentioned also in Distillery District, is a cool place around a fire that's a little more local music. And then Henry Clay's Public House, that's downtown. That's also a cool spot to catch some tunes. So.
Excellent. We'll go to my number 5. It's a quick one, and there are locations of Crank and Boom that are not in the Distillery District, but I'm not sure if they all have liquor licenses. The one at the Distillery District does, because after a nice winning day at Keeneland, at some point, JK and I did go for the boozy milkshake at Crank and Boom, and I thought it was something that our listeners would appreciate. And I know when you were name checking all the Distillery District places you were into, I mean, is Crank and Boom widely regarded as the best ice cream in Lexington?
I think so, yeah. And it's just like a craft feel, a unique feel to all their flavors, and kind of put a local spin on it. So yeah, it's definitely near the top of the list, if not at the top. So
let's move on to your 4th one. And this one could be a joint number 1 for both of us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a given. And it's just tour a local farm, or, specifically a thoroughbred breeding operation, most likely. They're all beautiful in their own unique way, but if you're looking for like star power and just beauty, I mean, I have to put Coolmore near the top of the list at Ashford Stud. I mean, just having American Pharoah and Justify there, and then just seeing all these cool stone buildings and even stone barns is something really unique. But you got a horse country. I think it's visithorsecountry.com. You can set up tours through there. And I mean, also, like if you're around before or after, I mean, like going to a horse sale, if you've never been to a horse sale, Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland, both really cool places. And, I remember Cock Campbell saying one time, it's the most exciting exchange in American commerce to see a horse sale in real life. So I got to agree with that to an extent.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
Rich Man's Bingo, my friend and mentor.
There you go. I like that too. Yeah.
Which is pretty funny. But yeah, visithorsecountry.com is the place. And don't feel limited to any particular farm, honestly. I've had great experiences at so many of them. We're very partial to our friends over at Mill Ridge. That's an incredible experience. Ashford, we've had great experiences. The Claiborne thing. I mean, visit horsecountry.com. Go there, see what's available. Obviously, Breeders' Cup Week, it's going to be kind of crazy. And if you can't get there, I'll throw in a quick shout out to our friends at Old Friends up in Georgetown, not that far, which might be a place where you could get a tour if you can't get to one of the current breeding operations. You'll see horses, just an amazing operation out that way. Let's go to my number 4. And this one is one of these where I could have picked any number of places because there's a lot of good dining in and around Lexington. I threw Jeff Ruby's right out there. We have a great friend of the program, Jenny Hosney, who works there. She's fantastic. We've never had a bad service experience there, never had a bad food service experience there. It's really like something out of time. It's a see and be seen place where the food is actually good. You will see people from racing. For all I know, they're all booked up Breeders' Cup Week, but that's the kind of place to me, even if you're coming in for a drink before dinner, after dinner, just to see what it's all about. So many, we could do a whole hour on food, and I will get you to name check a few favorites of yours, but I wanted to make sure I threw a Jeff Ruby shout out on.
No, for sure. And it's just the whole ambiance and the experience of the dining there, I think, is just the piano bar and everything else. I mean, the live music, and yeah, it's an awesome spot.
Yeah, the music aspect is really fun. What are some of your other go-tos for in terms of fine dining?
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're going to talk about Ruby's, I think Tony's is a 1A probably in that regard. Dudley's on Short downtown is great. The American is kind of a more traditional classic spot, a little further outside of town, but not far by any means. But they've got, the Southern dishes, the fried chicken and, that kind of stuff. So those are all some good ones. I could, like you said, I could keep going on. And on.
I'll put in a shout out because we've got a listener who works in the kitchen at Distilled on Jefferson.
Oh yeah, no, that's a
great experience there. And if Spencer's working, tell him we said hi. But we've had a number of great experiences there, so we'll give them a special shout out as well. Now here, you're number 3. I think a lot of people are going to be interested in, and I don't know jack squat about. So this is why you're here.
Yeah, sure. So I just said, if I can't go to the races and it's nice outside for whatever reason, I'm probably going to try to see what my golf options are. And there's several nice public courses around town. I just throw out a few. One of my favorites is Houston Oaks. It's out in Paris, but you take Paris Pike out there. It's a beautiful drive. You see lots of the horse country on that route, and it's a really well kept course for a public course, and just beautiful scenery out there. A couple others that you can probably get on are the University Club, which is where University of Kentucky's golf has their home course. It's also a really pretty one. They have 2 separate courses on there, and then Kearney Hill is Kearney Hills is a municipal golf course, but it was designed by Pete Dye. It's really nice as well. So just a few to throw out there, but yeah, always a good time.
No, and I think people will take advantage of that. Mine, another one that'll definitely take a big chunk of your day, but I highly recommend my third idea. I mean, you're in Kentucky. We know what Kentucky's known for, and one of the things is whiskey. And you do not have to go far from Lexington to do a tour. Now, again, book up, make your reservations sooner rather than later for Breeders' Cup week, or be prepared to drive. But two I'll name check. I mean, Woodford Reserve is amazing. That's a great place to go out to, and it's super duper close. But we will also name check a place where I'm hoping we're going to be doing a video from Breeders' Cup week, and that's Maker's Mark. So that's a bit of a schlep. It's in Loretto, Kentucky. So that's like, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, John, but that's a little bit farther, I think, even than Bardstown.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half from Lexington.
It's nothing crazy, and it's a great tour. It's such a bucolic little hollow where they make the stuff. It is a distillery tour unlike any other that I highly recommend. And then while we're talking Bardstown Bourbon Company, especially if you can get in for some of their special tastings that they do, I think they're doing some of the most exciting stuff. I mean, there's so much good stuff to choose from, but those are just three things I'll name check. And then if you can't get to a distillery, well, I have another number on the list where we can talk about drinking whiskey.
Right. And I'll just throw in there to the distilleries, Pete. Also, Buffalo Trace is one of my favorites as well, obviously. But, they have a gift shop that's open. Even if you can't book a tour there, like you can still kind of go in the gates and walk around and see, get a feel for it, because I have a feeling that most of those spots are going to be booked up, week out of Breeders' Cup. So, but definitely
that's a cool gift shop for sure. And sometimes they'll have offerings in the gift shop. Like the day I was there, I think you may have had to have taken some sort of like tasting or tour or something to be able to get this, but you could then buy like a bottle at MSRP of something that would go for, 4x that in a liquor store.
Oh yeah. There's a little Facebook group called What Does Buffalo Trace Have Today? And they post on there because they offer about 5 different, a rotation of 5 of their products. So you get there early enough. Sometimes you got to wait in line, but it's worth it.
Yeah, but Buffalo Trace, obviously, they do great stuff as well. But of course, not only is there whiskey to drink around Lexington, it's also, you mentioned Ethereal already, but it's become a really good place for beer drinkers. And I want you to give the rundown here for your number 2.
Yeah, so I'd say a Brewery Crawl maybe, or just any of our breweries. I mean, I don't have kids, but a lot of my friends do. And I feel like that's, if you want to drink and still have space for the kids to run around, breweries are great. So Mirror Twin is probably my go-to here as a local spot, but I also
my number 1 as well.
Yeah, and they have great TV setup too. If you want to watch a game or racing or whatever, they're usually pretty accommodating. But also like Country Boy, West 6, Blue Stallion, and like you said, we mentioned Ethereal. There's a couple others over there in the Distillery District, Fusion Brewing, Wisebird Cider, and then they also have the battle axes, the axe throwing, which I've never actually done before. But some people like it. It seems like kind of
that's combined with a brewery. That seems like a bad.
It's a little dangerous, yeah, but it is part of the same building. So yeah.
Which brewery is that? I got to check that out.
It's Fusion Brewing. So it's a big building in Manchester, kind of on your left as you first pull in, and I think they're converting some of it into storage space or something. But at the bottom level, there's the battle axes and a couple other breweries, and I think there's another restaurant in there too. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, the Brewery Crawl certainly a good thing. And so here's a wise guy move. I'm not sure if you're supposed to do this or not, but I've done it, and it dovetails really nicely with my number 2. Kentucky isn't one of the southern states that is always associated with barbecue, but there's some really good barbecue in Lexington. And I know there's some really good barbecue in Western Kentucky as well. But I am
I was gonna say they'll fight you in Western Kentucky if you say that.
Oh yeah. I'm talking about
the Bluegrass region, maybe not so much, but yeah.
But the West is a lot of lamb out there, right?
Yeah.
I got to go to some of those famous spots. But even in Lex, there's some good places. I mean. County Club, I've had good experience, but my favorite is Blue Door Smokehouse, and it's actually an easy walk. And I've taken my Blue Door. There's nowhere really to eat at Blue Door Smokehouse, maybe like one little table outside, but I've taken the food from there and either taken it to wherever I'm staying or just taking it over to Mirror Twin.
Right.
And, I'll order a pizza from Mirror Twin too, which are, solid.
Yeah.
I'll spend money there, but, as the food and drink matching with that. But I've had great, really good experiences, like some smoked sausage. I thought the brisket was very good. I thought the pork was good. I was extremely pleased. Is Blue Door on your radar?
Oh yeah. I mean, if that's not the top. It's very near the top for barbecue. I'd say it's the top. There's another one I'll mention that's kind of in Georgetown called Red State Barbecue. That's kind of on the way to Georgetown, but also a really solid one.
I've heard good things. I've heard good things, but I haven't been out that way yet. I'll have to make sure to do that. Let's move on to our honorable mentions, and we'll let you go first.
All right, so mine would be to grab brunch at a local spot. I work in Frankfurt, so I'm not around for lunch as much. But yeah, Saturdays, Sundays, I'm always trying to find a good spot. But Bear and the Butcher is owned by one of my close friends, but it actually is one of the most popular spots in town to grab brunch. They have great wings. I know that's not really brunch food, but I'm just gonna say what I get the most. Yeah. They have a fried chicken sandwich that they put pimento cheese and bacon on and jalapenos and a honey mustard. Oh, man, it's phenomenal. But they have the more traditional, chicken and waffles and then different breakfast sandwiches that'll definitely fill you up. Another spot would be Josie's, which is also the kind of Chevy Chase area. Very popular. You got to get there early or you'll have to wait. And then if you're here, they're not open on Sundays, but on a Friday or Saturday morning or, any day during the week, Wheeler's Pharmacy is like a old school bar stool kind of sit down in the back of an actual pharmacy. It's been here for years. Just a greasy spoon, greasy burger, milkshake, fries. It's a good spot too. And good breakfast food as well.
I should have eaten before we did this segment. That was a clear miscalculation on my part. I was going to mention Josie's if you didn't. That's a great one. And there's a lot of places I got to check out. I've heard Carsons for the Bloody Mary. Is that?
Oh yeah, Carsons. Yeah, they have a great Bloody Mary. That's one I should have mentioned as well. And Carsons just a cool spot in general. Kind of has a speakeasy feel to it a little bit, and just it has a cool patio too. So yeah, Carsons can't go wrong. Great portions as well.
For my honorable mention, this gets back to the idea, if you can't make the distillery tour, but you want to drink a lot of great whiskey right in Lexington. Well, one is real easy because it's that Paddock Bar at Keeneland. Now, especially early in the meet, and then hopefully maybe they'll restock for Breeders' Cup. But I've noticed you want to talk about bottles you can't find in New York for less than, thousands. They have unfindable things there. I mean, yeah, there are things there that you're going to pay just a lot more than you would at a normal whiskey bar. But to me, that's no different than the person who's willing to pay whatever he's willing to pay for the cheap beer at the ball game. And then if you know what you're looking for, you can get stuff that's priceless, more or less, at least to my taste buds. So if you want, whatever, 18-year-old Eagle Rare or, some crazy Van Winkle Rye, things that are just really, really hard to find. Anyway, I love that one. But then in terms of places in town, two I wanted to name check. One is Justin's House of Bourbon, which is also a shop. And what's great is it's a shop with the bar connected. So, of course, you can taste before you buy, which is wonderful. And if you're somebody looking to take bottles back, what a great ability to make sure that what you get and what you might be spending money on are things that you're going to actually enjoy. And then one I wanted to ask you about, because Mike Maloney has been tipping me and telling me I have to go there for years because they have apparently just a great list, but also really known for their really knowledgeable bartenders. The Bluegrass Tavern, is that a place on your radar? Yeah. And then where else to drink whiskey, in your opinion?
So yeah, Bluegrass Tavern is one of the most well known, I'd say, and that's in the Central Bank kind of I guess pavilion area. I don't know if they still call it, but the old courthouse downtown. It's a good spot. They usually do Thursday Night Live out there, and that's you go sneak into there and grab a bourbon. And like you said, the bartenders are very knowledgeable. I will say that if you're looking a little later on, the same owners of Justin's House of Bourbon, which are friends of mine as well, have Bell's Cocktail House downtown, and that's a great spot to grab a bourbon or different craft cocktails, and has great atmosphere. Rooftop bar, pretty good on Thursday nights as well. So yeah, Bell's, I would say, and then there's there's plenty of them downtown. You don't have to go far. You don't have to look too hard to find a good bourbon bar, honestly.
Don't struggle for whiskey in that town. For your number one, you went with a different kind of bar. Let's pop that one up on the screen and have you read it out.
So yeah, go to a dive bar. So I mean, if you're asking me a local on any given Friday or Saturday night where you can find me, there's about 3 places kind of close by around town that are divey, kind of, off the beaten path a little bit. But one would be Charlie Brown's. I don't know if you've ever been there, Pete, but it's definitely one of the older drinking establishments in town. They have, a nice little fireplace. And all these places, as dive bars, are naturally pretty dim lighting wise, but it's got a nice fire. It's got couches. Kind of looks like your shelves there, Pete, except it's just got books all over the walls. Not a bad TV setup if you want to watch a game or racing in there as well. Good bar food. They're open till 2 a.m. and serving. Their kitchen serves late. So Charlie Brown's definitely one. Even my dad went there when he was in college. So it's a cool spot. And then right across the street is Chevy Chase Inn. It's also very divey, but it's the oldest bar in Lexington. I think it was established in the 30s, so probably right after Prohibition. And then it's just unique. I mean, they have live music there on Friday, Saturday nights as well. And they say it's where the pros go to drink. I don't know. There definitely some humor all over that bar, you'll find. So, and then the last one is a little pub called Shinaway Pub. It's a karaoke bar in Shinaway Center, but it's definily has some regulars that are pretty talented, and I've been known to hop up there and sing some or two from time to time. But they have probably the cheapest beer in town. I think they have $8 pitchers of Bud Light or something like that. But it's just it's a neighborhood type place, but some good karaoke singers for sure.
I'm sensing a Breeders' Cup Week video.
Yeah, I mean,
where maybe we drag Vanessa Ryle, who's going to be with me, and if Michelle Yu comes to town, she's always up for some karaoke. We might get some good content out of the Shinaway Pub.
Absolutely,
we'll talk about that one off air.
I'm happy to tag along wherever.
All right, we'll talk, man. We'll talk.
Okay.
One thing I want to ask about bars. It will be the World Series. What about going out to very specifically watch a game? Where would you go?
Yeah, so I would say the best TV setup in town is Lex Live, and it's a fairly new. It's been here the past couple of years. Kind of came on board right after COVID or right during COVID, but they have massive TVs. It's also got an arcade, which I'm not a big arcade guy, but I went in there and there's some pretty cool games. They have the pop shots. They even have like a beer pong type game, and they had Mario Kart, but with the actual steering wheels, which was pretty cool. I thought. But no, great TV setup. The food's pretty solid, bar food. Then they have a movie theater and bowling lanes as well, and they're open pretty late. So that's a cool spot. And also KS Bar is another one I'll give you off of
Matt Jones.
Yeah, Matt Jones' spot. Yeah. No, it's a cool spot. They've got great wings as well and a good TV setup for sure.
That's great. All right. Well, some great ideas there. My number one's a pretty obvious one. If you're out there for Breeders' Cup, or really whenever you're there, if there are horses there, get yourself out to the track in the morning. I mean, it is just so cool to be able to see these horses up close. They're so amazing. And as great as the atmosphere at the track in the afternoon is, the morning definitely has its whole own set of charm going on, and especially Breeders' Cup Week when you can see these equine athletes. Any advice for people who want to go out in the morning? Is that in your, I don't know, you're at these dive bars, maybe you're sleeping in and not getting out in the morning.
I haven't been to the breakfast with the works in a while, but that's always a fun thing to take family to. But yeah, if you can't get that ambiance in the morning, like you don't even be there in the afternoon like that. If you can't get excited about that, you know what I mean? It's just such a unique and special atmosphere just to get up close and personal with the animals. And, you see in Breeders' Cup Week, you're obviously going to see it's like watching practice for, All-Star Week or something in any other given sport, you know what I mean? So it's definitely a cool spot. Gotta love going in the mornings. And if you can get off the trainer that'll kind of shepherd you around, that's even better,
Exactly. Human and equine stars on display. John, we got to roll, but we're going to hear you if you're listening to the podcast version at the end of the show. If you're on YouTube, rate, review, and subscribe. Do us a favor. Also, make sure you check out our website, inthemoneypodcast.com, and our Plus service if you want even more, inthemoneypodcast.com/plus. We'll be talking soon, John.
Thanks, Pete. Take care.